All right, we're gonna make the salmon skewers with the spiced up yogurt. And so we're gonna make the yogurt first so we can get that out of the way. As you can see here, we have some spices that we've toasted. Some coriander seed, some cardamom, some whole cinnamon stick, and some cumin. You toast them in a dry pan like this over the stove, and it just brings out all the oils from the spices, and it just really enhances the flavor of all the spices. We're gonna put them in a coffee grinder, and it's very important, if you're gonna use a coffee grinder for spices, that you have two. One for coffee, one for spices. This way you don't blend them together. So we're gonna put the yogurt in this bowl. We're gonna take our spices and pour the spices right over it. Some fresh lemon juice. Some salt and pepper. A little bit of cayenne. And I'm just gonna dice up an onion pretty finely. And this will actually give it a little more pungency, but also just a little bit of crunch in there. But dice them pretty fine. Okay, so just stir this up. Now we have a nice spiced up yogurt. Let's make some salmon skewers. I'm actually gonna make long skewers of salmon, almost like mini fillets of salmon. I'm gonna take a long skewer that we've soaked, just put the skewers right through them. Okay, put a little oil, some salt and pepper. Let's go to the grill. Okay, hot grill. Sometimes people are intimidated by grilling fish, and for good reason. I mean, especially something like salmon can be a little bit delicate. So the best thing to do is let the salmon cook on the grill, let the grill do its job, and after about 3 minutes, or 3 or 4 minutes, the salmon will actually come away from the grill on its own. So you can just kind of lift up the skewer and then move it around. But it's a little too early right now. Now you see how easily these turn, just because I left them alone on the grill. About 3 minutes on one side, about another minute and a half on the other, and they're done. Don't kill the salmon. Okay, so now we're gonna plate this. The cracked wheat salad right in the middle of the bowl. Take our salmon skewers. And then a little bit of yogurt. And then just because it's here, just a little squeeze of orange right around it. Grilled salmon skewers with a bulgur wheat salad and some spiced yogurt.
Orange juice and lemon juice, both fresh. And then I have the zest of both orange and lemon. So that's going into, along with a lot of parsley, lots of really finely minced parsley, some garlic, very fine, and fresh dill, which is amazing. And then a little bit of paprika. This is basically gonna be the marinade for the salmon, but I'm also going to use it to flavor some yogurt to dip the salmon in. So it's just gonna go a long way. Little bit of paprika and then salt and pepper. And you can use different fresh herbs that you might have in your garden or your produce drawer, depending on what time of year it is. Some olive oil. Okay, so I stirred that all together, just a real green, delicious marinade. And I'm gonna pour half of this over some chunks of salmon. So Alex, come in and look at this.
Chunk.
Don't forget to do your close-ups, Alex. Okay? Don't forget, Alex. And then I'll toss the salmon chunks in this beautiful marinade. Did you know I did not like salmon until I was well into my 40s? You need to just give it a chance. It kind of started with smoked salmon and bagels. Then I moved into the grilled salmon world, and oh, it's amazing. So look at this, Alex. And you can do this a little bit ahead of time if you want to kind of let it marinate for a little while, but we don't have time for that. And also, I poured off half of it because I didn't want any of this to come in contact with the raw salmon. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm going to build the first skewer, and each skewer just gets 3 chunks of salmon. The salmon is a little bit delicate, so you want to keep the chunks pretty big so that when they cook, they don't completely fall apart and fall off the skewers. Okay, so put it on a little sheet pan, sprinkle with salt. All right, so that's 1 skewer built. I'm gonna build the rest, and then we'll put them under the broiler. So come with me, Paige. I've got the broiler all set to go, so I'm gonna put it in the oven and broil these for just about 4 or 5 minutes. It doesn't take long at all. You don't even have to turn them. So while they are cooking, I'm gonna make that beautiful yogurt that I told you about. This is gonna be sort of a dipping sauce or just sauce in general for the salmon. So I've got plain Greek yogurt, and I just kind of do a big pile right in the center of this dish. And then I just use the spoon to kind of do little swirls and make little divots here and there, because I've got the rest of this beautiful citrus marinade that I used for the salmon. So you can kind of drizzle or just kind of do a little pile right in the center, and then kind of get it around the edges. It's so pretty. You can sprinkle some like really diced red bell pepper, really finely diced red bell pepper on top if you want some color, but I think this is just beautiful. And then I have a platter of arugula, and I'm gonna put the beautiful salmon on top. I love arugula, it's so peppery and delicious. And you can leave the salmon in the oven for as long as you need. If you like for it to have a little bit more color on top, you can, but I love it when it's just barely done, very, very tender.
We took our wood plank, soaked it in water for a couple hours. All that is ensuring is that this isn't gonna burn to a crisp when it's on the grill. We have some beautiful salmon
This
here.
is a beauty.
It's been pin boned, but the skin is on, and we're just gonna place this right on our board. Get wild salmon when you can, organic if you can, or just the best salmon that you could find. Next thing you have to remember is everything Bagel Spice has salt in it. So one of the rare times you are not gonna see me put a lot of salt on food.
It varies from Bagel Spice to Bagel Spice, I've noticed, though. So you kind of want to give your
Tell me
Bagel
how
Spice
do
a
you
little
feel?
sample.
How do you feel
I'll
our
tell you.
Bagel Spice? Where's the salt level?
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. So we don't need
No
to add
salt needed.
So taste your Bagel Spice first, and then we're taking some Dijon mustard. And you could use any mustard here. I prefer a spicy style mustard, and we're gonna brush the salmon with that. This does 2 things. One, salmon and mustard are like peas and carrots. They go really well together. But you also need a little bit of glue
Yeah.
for your seeds. And then you're just gonna liberally go across with your everything bagel seeds.
And using this cedar plank, like, could you use that in an oven indoors as well?
It's actually a great tool to work with in the oven indoors because it will heat up and throw a little bit of smoke. You take this, we have the grill set up with offset heat. So I have half the coals on one side, no coals on the other. This is gonna go on the no coal side, and the grill is gonna be at about 350 degrees. It's gonna take roughly 20 minutes. I like my salmon around medium. Cook it to the temperature of your liking. Salmon goes in, lid goes down. I'm gonna take the salmon off. We're gonna place that salmon down. Look, it's toasted. Those everything bagel
Beauty.
spices. You can see the board because we soaked the chard a little bit, but it's still in beautiful shape. All right, so unlike lox, this is a hot smoked salmon, so it's gonna be a little bit more on the flaky side. It's not gonna be like, you know, when you slice lox, but it's cooked. Oh man, look, it's firmed up. It is super
Wow,
moist
that looks
and cooked all the way through. And
gonna
you can
put
see
that
it's
on.
nice and flaky there.
Little Liv's plate here.
But look how juicy it is, and it's like that beautiful rose colored.
Love it. Oh, thank
you,
you.
love
Liz, I want you to taste the salmon first and tell me
Okay.
what you think about the salmon
All right.
as I drink the rosé.
Oh, this looks so good.
It's so juicy.
And a little spicy, perfect amount of salt. I love it.
As we get closer and closer to opening the Mercantile, I've been spending more time there. I've got to go in today and get a bunch of stuff done, so I'm going to take lunch with me. That way I won't have to stop and go get a burger. I'm making a salmon and veggie grain bowl. Really great flavor, light and delicious. I'm going to get the salmon cooking now. I've just got a little oil in a skillet. While the salmon keeps cooking, I'm going to drain the grain. I'm using farro, which is such a delicious, nutty grain. I don't use it very often, but it's perfect for a bowl like this with veggies and salmon. It has a really great texture. It's a little bit chewy. Now I want to rinse it to stop the cooking process. This is going to be a cold salad, so I want to stop it in its tracks, and that way the texture is just perfect. Okay, I'm gonna check the salmon. I think it's time to turn. I'm gonna make a super simple dressing for the veggie grain bowl. I'll start with a little olive oil. I've got a lemon and I'll zest a little bit of it. And then I'll cut the lemon in half and squeeze in half the juice. Now I had a shallot in my fridge, so I'm gonna use it. Okay, sprinkle in some salt and pepper. This is a very shalloty dressing. Now I'll take the other half of the lemon and squeeze it right over this sizzly salmon. I always like to have a little bit of citrus when I cook salmon. It's a perfect flavor combination. Now I've got some veggies for the veggie grain bowl. And this is one of those things where you just kind of open your veggie drawer and see what you have and use what you want. I've got some radishes, which I thought would be really lovely. And I'm just slicing some sugar snap peas. I've also got an avocado. Now for the salmon, I just need to break it up into chunks. Look how luscious and tender that is. I'll grab some of the farro. Now I've got to lay all of this wonderfulness on top, starting with the salmon. Sugar snap peas, nice and crunchy, the sliced radishes, and I'll take the avocado slices, put them around the edge. How delightful is this? The last thing is the dressing. I've got some fresh dill. Look at this bowl of beauty. Love it. Now I've got to get to town and get to work.
So I'm going to start with 3 pounds of salmon, and it's a fillet. I'm going to cut it in half. It's beautiful salmon. All the bones have been taken out, but it's still on the skin. So I'm going to take half of it and put it in a big dish. Just like that. Now I'm going to make a salt and spice and sugar cure to put on top. So first I need 2 tablespoons of whole peppercorns, 1 tablespoon of whole fennel seeds. Just think how good that is. Lots of flavor. And just grind it up like this. Okay, that's the spice mixture. Now I need half a cup of salt. I know it's a lot of salt, but we're curing it. And half a cup of sugar. So that's the salt and spice mixture. So the next thing I'm going to do is I have lots of fresh dill, and it's really important for this. I'm going to take a big bunch of fresh dill and just put it right on top of the salmon. And that flavor, that kind of like dill flavor, it's so unique, so Scandinavian, is going to get into the salmon. Okay, next is the spice mixture. Just all of it right on top. I know it seems like a lot of salt and a lot of sugar, but that's how you cure salmon. It sounds like the cure for the common cold, but it's salmon. Okay, and then some Pernod, which is very anise flavor, 2 tablespoons. And that's going to help dissolve the salt and the sugar and get right into the salmon. Next, I'm gonna take the other half of the salmon and put it right on top. Look how great that looks, I love it. And then I'm gonna take a dish, I wanna weight it down. I'm gonna take a dish that can sit right on top. A little precarious, but it sits right on top. And then I'm gonna weight it. Go to the pantry and get 2 cans, preferably crushed tomatoes. No, it doesn't matter what kind of cans, any kind of cans. And just weight that on top. And that's gonna sit in the fridge for 2 days. And every 12 hours, I'm gonna flip the whole salmon thing over, and then it'll marinate the other side, and then flip it back again. Okay, let's see if I can get it into the fridge without dropping it. Happily, I have one that I did 2 days ago. So I'll show you how it looks. Take one off, put it right on the board. The salt and the sugar and the spices and fennel all got into the salmon. I'm just gonna take the dill off. And then I'm gonna take any pieces of pepper and fennel left over off. When I first learned, the woman who taught me actually said, slice on one side and then the other side until you get really comfortable, which is really good advice. And this is actually called a smoked salmon knife. So if you really want to treat yourself, it's not a bad idea because you really can't do this with a chef's knife. It would be impossible. Like trying to do surgery with a screwdriver. You just always need the right utensils for the right job. So you really want to do it not just paper thin, but also evenly. And it takes some practice, but you can do it. See how thin this is? It's really paper thin. Pumpernickel bread is really dark and sort of just a delicious counterpoint to the salmon. I just put Dijon mustard into a bowl along with honey mustard, whole grain mustard, and ground mustard. Next, I added some sugar, white wine vinegar, whisked everything together, then slowly poured in olive oil and grapeseed oil, whisking constantly until the sauce was emulsified. Finally, I mixed in minced fresh dill and some salt. Easy, right? A little bit of dill.
Salmon sometimes can, if you're gonna microwave things, it might perfume the room. And you'd made a comment that I actually saw online a week later, and I caught it, where sometimes in Asian cooking, to remove that smell, they remove that fatty layer of the skin, and they do it by pouring hot water over the top.
Boiling water. Interesting.
So I've just turned this over, so it's skin side.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Hot water over the top.
Oh, wow, look at it, curl up.
You can see it kind of curl up a bit there.
You
And
go,
then
it's
look
magic.
how easily.
What? Oh, look at that.
And
Just
then
like
just
nothing.
peels
Oh,
right
wow.
off.
Look at that.
Look at that. So, Katie, I'm gonna put this over
Yeah.
here and give that a go.
And I think a lot of people get intimidated of cooking fish at home, and salmon is such a great place to start.
It really is. Good in the freezer, good in the, if you go by the fishmonger and he's got all the salmon laid out. And then if you could just salt and pepper on both sides. And we're gonna get this into the pan. I'm gonna make a quick brush that you kind of do a quick marinade, okay? So we're gonna start with some honey and a little bit of soy sauce. To that, I'm gonna add in some lemon juice. Sambal.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm adding here. It's just chili sauce. Then just get in here and whisk it up. And after you've got the salmon salted and peppered on both sides, this is a good marination. And then also I love to kind of brush it over the top as I'm doing a pan saute, just to get that last second caramelization of the sugars. You guys are going in on those cucumbers over there, huh?
Well, honestly, watching you make this is making me hungry.
Yeah? And just kind of hit this. After you've got the salt and pepper on it, over the top. This is gonna sit on the back counter, room temp, 10, 15, 20 minutes. I'll show you what that looks like. Coming right over here.
Sunny, I'm gonna have to put this on my Instagram because I am constantly getting messages from people wanting salmon recipes. So you're giving the people what they want.
That's right. I think salmon is like the second coming of chicken on foodnetwork.com. Just a little bit of olive oil down. It's a non-stick pan, so I'm not super worried. And I like to get it
Nice.
curved side down. All right. So I'm just gonna let these cook on both sides while I'm basting it with our sauce that we marinated it in. And now I'm ready to top it like it's hot. I've just taken the rest of that sauce and kind of reduced it down. No big deal. I'm just gonna pour it over the top. And I love to give a flip, you know, so these were cooked on both sides. Yeah, why not, right?
That looks like a really
Shiny
rich
salmon.
glaze.
Sign me up.
Seepage. So Katie is hooking up one of the things that I love to put into a rice bowl or a grain bowl, a little bit of fresh crunch. So it's a Granny Smith apple. You just peel it, and I always feel like it goes very well with a little bit of broccoli. So I've got a steam bag of broccoli that I've steamed. And then I've got some rice that I microwave. GZ, if it's okay for you to microwave salmon, I figure I can microwave some vegetables. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean,
Dare I say you could potentially make this meal entirely in the microwave?
Or all on a sheet pan.
Yeah, that would be great as well.
oh,
So just get it out, hit with a little bit of olive oil.
Sunny, I love a healthy meal like this that's so easy to put together. You know,
Yeah.
you come home from work and you want something that's fast, delicious, and healthy. This is
I
it.
agree. I love something that just comes together really, really fast. And then this is just Thai jasmine rice. Listen, microwave rice has come a long way.
heck yeah, man.
There's
the texture.
quinoa, there's wild rice blends, there's so many
Where do you
different
find that?
medleys. So you're gonna go into the aisle that has like the packets that you microwave, like the mashed potato packets. Sometimes it's in the same aisle with the spices, just at the end of that aisle.
Is it frozen or freezer section?
No, it's shelf stable, so you just put it in your pantry and it's good to go whenever you
Wow.
want it.
There are frozen varieties, though. You get a really great texture of them. I was surprised. We have them all the time. You should try
Look
it
how
once
quick
in a
that
while.
is. And usually it's
Be so
like a 60
close-minded.
or a 90-second situation and you're good to go. So now I've got all of my parts. I've got my rice, I've got my broccoli, I've got my apples.
This looks delicious.
A little spritz moment right here.
I mean,
Let's
this looks
just go
like
ahead and
Iris
build
would
it.
like this, no?
Uh-oh.
Except the
She doesn't
broccoli.
eat broccoli.
Bring it up. Why
And
you bringing
she
it up?
doesn't eat rice, actually.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
Oh, that'll change.
I mean, that's
Sushi's
okay.
coming.
She's
Sushi's
young. and
coming.
Just a good amount of that Thai jasmine rice. And then I like to go in over the top. Let me get a spout. I can use this. Big old piece of that
look at
salmon.
Oh, baby.
Yum.
Right?
That's a
Right
bowl
over
for the
top.
ages.
Some of the crisp, fresh. And also, I love a bowl because you can kind of compartmentalize.
Yeah, I
and
love that
mix it
too.
together if you want.
Yep.
And everybody can customize their own.
Yeah. And then some broccoli. Real simple. You can also choose to do a nice little spritz of lemon over this, but I kind of like to serve it with the lemon, and you can spritz as you please.
I mean,
And there you have it. My
Beautiful.
salmon bowl.
all right, let me see what's
Mangiati,
doing.
mangiati.
Slide that baby down.
Look how beautiful that is.
Look at the beautiful.
Yeah, easy.
Remember, I mean, everything in here is very healthy. The salmon's full of omega-3s, good fats, great source of protein, and it's from the sea, Geoffrey. This reminds us of our like Monday night salmon we always make. Right? Sarah makes, right? Slightly sweet, spicy topping. You can do it in the microwave, you can do it in the broiler, do it in the pan, do it wherever, but if you cook it to this perfect medium temp, it's juicy throughout. This is
So I have two beautiful center cuts of salmon here. I'm gonna make this molasses soy glaze. It's kind of a combination of like my southern roots and mixing it up with a little Asian flair. I'm gonna add sesame oil, kind of going along with that Asian theme here. Fish sauce. If you've never worked with it, use a little at a time. Rice wine vinegar is gonna add a little bit of tartness to that. Honey. Between the molasses and the honey, you're gonna get a really nice glaze on top of that salmon. I'm using 2 cloves of garlic, but I'm also gonna add ginger. I'm peeling the skin with a spoon. Nice little trick I've learned over the years, and I like a lot of gingers. Give it a little mix. All right. And I'm only cooking it till it comes to a slight boil. Then I'm gonna leave it on low until it's time to glaze the salmon. Got my salmon here. Let me give it a little salt on top. And I'm using salmon that has the skin on. Add my sesame oil. It's gonna give you a really, really nice nutty flavor. Make sure that gets nice and hot. Salmon doesn't take long at all to cook. I would say about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Once it turns this pale pink here at the bottom, you know that that side has started to cook, so it means you can flip it over at this time. Look how crispy that is. That's what I'm talking about. Leave that skin on. A little salt to that, a little pepper. Now I'm gonna work with my glaze. Brush that on there. And because I wanna create a sauce too, pour a little right in here. It's gonna seep in the bottom there. What I like to do at this point, because it doesn't take long at all on this side to sear, I flip it back over and let it continue to cook from the skin side. I can tell if the salmon is cooked by pressing onto it. The firmer it is, the more that you know that it's cooked in the inside. And my salmon is done. While it's nice and hot, there you go.
So I pulled the bread and asparagus off of the grill pan. The bread is sourdough, sliced and grilled with a little bit of butter. And then I tossed the asparagus in butter too, and I grilled it. So that's gonna just hang out until the finished dish is ready to assemble. So this is eggs Benedict with smoked salmon, and I need to poach the eggs. So I have a simmering pan of water, and it's just to the bubbling stage, and you can see that I'm creating basically a cyclone or tornado in the water, going a little bit faster and faster. And then as soon as it really starts to go, I'm gonna drop in 4 eggs. I'm gonna try to drop them in one at a time. There's 1, 2, 3, oh, 3, 4. That's okay. So then you can see, Alex, can you get in here and see this? You see how the whites are kind of starting to fold in around the yolks, and that's exactly what you want to happen. So I'm gonna get in here and just kind of make sure they're separate eggs that are poaching, not just one big egg with 4 yolks. That's happened to me before. So while the eggs are poaching, I'm gonna get started on the hollandaise sauce, and that's more egg yolks. This is a very egg yolky dish. And then I've got some lemon juice, and it goes in along with the zest from the same lemon. And I'm gonna give this a little bit of a buzz. Oh, I forgot to drop vinegar into the water. Oh my gosh. Tablespoon of vinegar in the water. I forgot to do it ahead of time. I'm just gonna do it now for fun. But it really helps kind of get those egg whites to kind of stick to the egg yolks. Okay, I'm gonna add some salt and pepper into the blender. This is kind of a magical sauce, hollandaise. To me, it's the most delicious sauce in the world. Same. Okay, now the secret is, Alex, look, I have sizzling melted butter in a little saucepan, and I'm gonna turn on the blender and drizzle this in slowly, and it's gonna emulsify and turn this into a sauce. So before I check the sauce, I'm actually gonna come back to the poached eggs because I don't want those to go too far. And look at this, Alex. Look at this beautiful poached egg.
That looks perfect.
It really does. I'm gonna put them on paper towels just to drain the excess water. And you kind of wanna pull out a poached egg right before you think it's done because it's gonna continue to kind of cook the yolk even after you take it out. So you don't wanna have that yolk turn into a dry yellow yolk. Look at these, they're so pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna add some herbs. I have parsley, I've got fresh dill, and some fresh chives. And I actually don't want to completely pulverize and grind up the herbs. I want them to stay in little flecks. So, okay, and then that little pulse should have done the trick. So let me just take a look and see. Can you see that? Is it thick?
Oh, it's really thick.
Oh my gosh. I love hollandaise sauce so much. So now it's time to assemble, and I'm just gonna use one of these plates. So So I'm gonna start with a piece of the grilled bread. And then I've got some beautiful smoked salmon. You like smoked salmon?
I do.
I'll get one of these beautiful, I can just use my fingers, we're family. Beautiful poached eggs. Okay, now I'm gonna grab the asparagus. And you can put it on the Benedict. I'm just gonna put it to the side rather than try to do a balancing act. Can you see? I just think the green asparagus is such a beautiful kind of accompaniment for the salmon in the holidays. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
This is where the rubber meets the road right here. This gorgeous green. It's very, very thick. If it gets too thick, you can always thin it out with a little bit of hot water, but I think it's actually just perfect. How gorgeous is this? I mean, oh, and then I forgot, I saved some little chive pieces, so I just kind of do a little crisscross. And then a little tiny sprinkling of pepper is always beautiful. How perfect is this for the holidays? Breakfast, brunch, lunch, midnight snack.
I've got beer from Montauk. I've got ciabatta rolls from Southampton. And I thought, what goes with both of those? I think I'm gonna make salmon and guacamole sandwiches, and then you can drink the beer with it. So first I'm gonna make guacamole. I need 2 avocados. They have to be really ripe, and I like Hass avocados, which are these brown ones. Okay, next is lime juice. I've got 1/4 cup of freshly squeezed lime juice. This is what keeps the guacamole from turning brown, so you really want to just toss it together. Next, 4 scallions and 1/4 cup of red onion. They'll have lots of heat. Have a tablespoon of jalapeno pepper. You can make it as hot as you like. 1 teaspoon of garlic. I always put garlic in guacamole. Teaspoon of salt. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. I'm just gonna mash it together with a fork. Okay, and I'm gonna oil the salmon and then salt and pepper it. And what I'll do is I'll just sear it in the pan. It's a dry pan, you just wanna oil the fish so it doesn't stick to the pan. Okay, salt and pepper. Salt. You wanna season it really well. And what I'm gonna do is sear it in the pan, and then what I'm gonna do is put it in the oven, and it comes out sort of crisp on the outside and perfectly tender on the inside. Okay, so I'm gonna put the salmon in, skin side up, for 2 minutes. And don't move it at all, so it forms a crust. I'm gonna cook it for 2 minutes on this side, then I'm gonna turn it, cook it 2 minutes on the other side. So it's really important with fish, it is with chicken, with anything, to let it rest. So I'm gonna put it on a plate and just cover it with aluminum foil and let it rest for about 10 or 15 minutes. And all the juices get back into the salmon that way. It's really important to undercook it a little bit because it's going to keep cooking while it sits. And I want really tender, moist salmon. Okay, next I'm going to toast the ciabatta bread. So I'm just going to cut these in half. I just think with bread and a sandwich, it's always nicer to toast it. Just gives it better texture, better flavor. Put them on a sheet pan, 400 degrees for really 5 to 10 minutes, just until they're lightly toasted. Take 1 ciabatta, put guacamole on the bottom, about 2 tablespoons, that should do it. Just spread it out. And then 1 piece of salmon. I'm gonna take the skin off. I'm just gonna cut it in half with my hands. 2 pieces of applewood smoked bacon that I roasted in the oven. Some arugula, give it a little peppery lettuce thing going. A little salt. Make sure it's perfectly seasoned. And a little more guacamole on the other piece of bread. Hold it all together. Put it right on top. Does that look good enough to eat?
We're gonna start with a little jalapeno. Jalapeno and some garlic to get this spicy apricot chili glaze going. So the jalapenos, normally when I'm doing them on Guy's Big Bite, is I'm taking them and taking the ribs and the seeds out. That's where all the heat is. These I'm actually gonna cut in rounds because I want a little bit more heat. So I'm gonna leave the ribs and the seeds in. Okay? Now, if you didn't have a jalapeno available, a little red chili flake could work good, but jalapeno really is meant to go into this one. Okay, now my pan is nice and warm. I've also preheated my oven with the broiler because I'm gonna be popping some peppers in there to let those kind of char up so I can take the skins off them. Okay, a little extra virgin olive oil, saute pan, not too hot because I want these to caramelize a little bit. I want some of the heat, but I also want them to mellow out just a bit. Got to hear a little sizzle when it goes in or you're definitely not hot enough. Okay, that's down, a couple cloves of garlic. Now the same thing with the garlic. Normally you'll see me mince it or put it in a press or dice it up real fine. This here I'm gonna kind of do just in some real nice thin slices, and these will survive a little bit better in this pan. You know, a lot of times when you see garlic browning up, you're knowing that it's becoming bitter. These are gonna actually cook right about the same tempo that those jalapenos are. Okay, and those go in. Next one. Give it a little toss, get that oil moved all around, turn the heat up just a bit on it. Well, let's go shopping. Out of the big fridge, I need some white wine to deglaze the jalapenos and garlic. I need some bell pepper, some red bell pepper, some corn. I actually need a basket, some apricot preserves and whole grain mustard. Isn't that a great fridge? All right, apricot, mustard, corn, white wine, and the peppers. Now the peppers, you know what? A lot of times people look at it and say, well, I'll just buy the roasted pepper meat. You can actually, when peppers are in season, they're cheap enough, you can get these and do it yourself. It's real easy, and here's a little trick. Little olive oil, throw the peppers in. And yes, sometimes I do them right on the cutting board and make a mess, but I'm doing them in a bowl today. Okay, so we roll these around like this and just kind of evenly coat them with the oil. Also works good on the barbecue if your barbecue has a lid on it. What we want to do is get heat all the way around them, okay? So we get those all mixed up. Now what I'm gonna do is throw them onto this baking sheet, evenly coated, and we're gonna pop them into the oven. Now the oven broiler is going on, and that's what you have to watch out for. These will be in here all covered up. You might not have an eye on them. These can go real fast. What we're trying to do is brown the skins or blacken the skins all the way around the pepper and not the meat. If we start going too far and we start to burn the meat, that's not what we're looking to do, okay? Give these another little toss and maybe a little bit more heat. It's better to go low and slow with this and not go too fast because as soon as that garlic burns, you know, boom, you got to start all over. All right. Now, that's going. Now here's my corn. Now, you know the great thing is corn has so much flavor in it, especially fresh corn. White corn's my personal favorite. This I found already, you know, the husk taken off for me, already prepackaged. You got to work with what you got. And if you don't have that, and you really have a hankering for Guide Mock Shoe, well, go ahead and use some canned corn. I won't tell anybody. Okay. No oil going on these. These we're just getting a little bit of brown, a little bit of color on. Okay. So this is up nice and high, and we'll just roll these around a little bit because later we're going to be cutting all the corn off the cob. Okay, there we go. A little more toss on this. Now, let's talk about this. We're gonna add in a little whole grain mustard, and we're gonna do the apricot preserves. What if you don't have apricot preserves? Orange marmalade would work good. A little bit different flavor, but it's that same idea where you're gonna be bringing a fruit into it, a sweet fruit. We're gonna have a little bit of the acid from the mustard coming in, and then we got a little bit of the heat from the jalapeno. So you can kind of mix this up the way you want. I'm gonna deglaze it with a little bit of white wine. Whoa, nice catch, you see that? Well, kind of nice catch. All right, so we deglaze it with a little white wine. This also works great on game, like if you're doing some pheasant, if you want to do some pork chops, oh, dynamite on pork chops. Center cut, bone in. Okay, and we'll crank this up now really high because the alcohol is going to protect that so these now won't burn, and we hit it with a little bit of the whole grain. Dijon mustard works good too. You could even go yellow mustard if that's all you got. 1, 2, 3 tablespoons. All right, apricot preserves. Again, when it comes to something like this, like the apricot preserves, using the better quality works good because everything that you put into this is going to come out in the flavor. And a lot of times people say with wine also, well, you know, the wine's not that great, save it, we'll cook with it. Don't cook with anything that you're not going to drink, and don't put it in the dish. Okay? Okay, so now we've got the spicy, now we've got a little bit of the sour from the mustard, now here comes the sweet. So about 3/4 to a cup of that, of the apricot preserves. Excellent. Get a little spoon, Roll my corn. See how the corn's starting to brown up? That's just what we're looking for. We're just gonna try to get it done evenly around there. So I've got this working together. These flavors are gonna marry. This is gonna reduce, gonna make a really nice glaze that we're gonna go and put on our salmon that's gonna go on the cedar plank that's gonna go in the oven. You so wish that there was a thing as Taste-O-Vision. That is dynamite. That's jalapenos and garlic, deglazed with white wine, a little mustard, and some apricot preserves that's going on top of something called cedar plank salmon. Dynamite. I've got some corn going right now, and the corn is actually going into a dish called corn mok choux, guide corn mok choux. And then I've got some peppers actually that I got to pull, and these peppers have actually been under the broiler, rubbed them in a little olive oil, and what we're doing is charring them, and they have been charred nicely. I'm charring them. I'm gonna throw them into this bowl over here and let them sweat so I can get the seeds and the skins and everything off of them just to have the pepper meat. Okay, these are also going in the mok choux. And these were done right. You can see how they're nice and charred and they're not flattened down. That means that they didn't go too far and that we didn't, that we didn't burn the flesh, okay? So those go in. Now also in the mok choux is we're gonna have some of this corn, actually that I should probably grab. We're gonna have some corn, we're gonna have some bacon, we're gonna have some celery, all gonna go into that, but I'll explain that in just a second. Let's these cool down because what I'm gonna do is cut those right off of the cob. And I need to get a little plastic wrap over the top of this bowl. We're gonna take the internal temperature of the peppers and they're gonna kind of sit there and steam themselves and steam those skins almost right off, okay? All right, so that's going. I'm letting this cool. I gotta fire this pan up because I'm gonna do some bacon in this for the mok choux in just a second. Now I need to get the cedar planks down. Now, cedar planks, why? Well, the smell of them kind of smells like a closet or like a cigar humidor. And what ends up happening with this is some people soak them in water and then throw them in the oven and they almost steam a little bit and impart some flavor. Me, I like to go a little bit more big bite style. And I actually don't soak them in the water. I just throw them right on the fire. So I've got them down on the fire, crank up the heat. I'm almost gonna let them burn. Now this would be something you'd probably be a little more interested in doing outside on your barbecue, but you really have to pay caution because this almost might get, glowing embers on the bottom, which will create smoke when we put it in the oven. So no kids doing this, really do this with some caution, okay? And you can see they're already starting to smoke now. Okay, let's do some shopping. Out of the big fridge, I need some salmon, celery, rosemary, bacon first, then some rosemary, okay? And you can see those bad boys are already smoking. Bacon goes down, there we go, boom, boom, boom. Okay, let's look at the salmon. Beautiful fillets. What I'm trying to do here is we could use a big piece of salmon. I like to use them in little steak cuts if I can of the fillet because I want this glaze to get everywhere around the salmon when it cooks in the oven. So these are looking pretty perfect. Look at this, what's going on here. See how they're starting to smoke up? Perfect, just where I want them. This is definitely the time to make sure that you don't have the smoke alarm going off. Okay, look at that. Little bit of smoke going on right there. And that's not too much because we don't want it to change the whole flavor of the house. Throw that one down. That one got a little bit extra. Okay, so those goes down right there. And then we'll throw the parchment paper on there. Parchment paper is gonna curl up in just a second unless I get these salmon steaks down, these fillets. Okay. Don't put them too close together. I knew it was gonna curl up on me. Don't put them too close together because we don't want them to be steaming each other. Give them a little separation. I could probably fit 3 fillets on here with this size. And also I took the planks off of the fire because see how that parchment paper, it could actually catch on fire. So we don't really want that to happen. Those go down, that goes down. Let me hit it with a little salt, a little pepper, right on top. Oh, those look beautiful. Now, this is a type of cooking that was actually done, a Native American Indian type of cooking in the Pacific Northwest. And cooking with cedar really adds some nice flavor. You really have to watch out, though. You can't just take any cedar that you find. Usually going to a barbecue store or online to a specialty food store is where you can find these planks. There, those go down. There we go. Gives a nice, sweet, earthy flavor to it. Okay, now here, that glaze is cooled down, so it's not gonna run off of the salmon. If I put it on there hot, it might have a tendency to just kind of cruise right off of there. Down, a little bit more. Be liberal with it. I'll show you a little trick of why this is not gonna wreck your oven if it does start to run off of the salmon. Okay, excellent. Turn that bad boy off. Now these planks shouldn't be so hot that I can't touch them. They're gonna be all right. Into the oven at 350 degrees. Pop these on top There we go. 350 degrees for about 15 minutes. Should be fine. Take the pan that we had, flip it upside down in case any of that glaze starts to run off. Okay? There we go. This pan's nice and hot. Where'd my bacon go? About a 1/4 pound of the bacon. Now, what's going to happen is when we're cooking these onions and the celery and everything that we're getting together for this mock choux, we're going to need a little bit of fat or oil to do it with. Well, this is going to be perfect because, you know, everybody loves the flavor of bacon, and this right here in particular is, you know, is going to work also as a garnish on top when we pull the bacon out. Okay. Not too fine. There we go. And I find that cutting it gives it a chance to render down a little bit more. Spread that around. I wish you were here to help. Look at this. I got pepper all over me. Fortunately, they've cooled down a little bit, so I'm not burning myself. And what I did is I roasted these in the under the broiler and then put them in the bowl and wrapped it with some plastic wrap and let them steam themselves. And that helps take all the skin off, and that's what that is. Now I open them up a little bit and take out some of the seeds and some of the ribs. Now, sometimes you'll see people doing this under running water because it helps get off a little bit of extra char that you see. But I'll leave some of the char because that's flavor versus running under the water and taking flavor away. So the green one's done, the red one's finished. I'm a mess. I also took some corn here, roasted that on the grill right there, and added a little bit of color. Not trying to cook it right there because I'll be able to finish up cooking it in the pan. I've got some jalapenos and garlic that go in there, a little celery, a white onion, and a red onion for some good flavor. And I did some bacon. Now what I'm going to do is take this bacon out of the pan, and I'm going to add this to the mock choux. And this is actually guide mock choux, which is my version of corn mock choux. And I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to use the bacon fat to cook the veggies. Now over here in the oven, well, that's where the big surprise is. That is where the cedar plank salmon's going on. What I did is I took some really nice salmon, put it on a cedar plank, a little parchment paper, and then hit it with some rosemary on top, and then put this apricot chili glaze that we made with garlic and a little bit of jalapeno, some white wine, some whole grain mustard, and then put some apricot preserve. So that's almost ready. So this is nice and hot. The bacon's pulled out. Now I got a bunch of veggies to cut up. So I'm going to start with the ones that go in the pan first. I got to hit my onions. All right, so that finishes up the chop-a-rama. That's what I love about my restaurants. I have sous chefs in there that can do all this for me, so when I'm making up these recipes, they can cut 90 onions. All right, so there's onions in here. I got red onion, yellow onion. I got some garlic, some jalapeno, some red bell pepper that I roasted, some green bell pepper that I roasted, some corn that I roasted, and this is all going together for the guide mock choux. Got a little bit of bacon. What I did is I cooked that bacon. We got the bacon fat in there. That helped me saute the onions, the peppers, and the garlic. We're gonna save that for the top to use as a garnish. But you should just smell it. All the flavors that are going on in here. It's really nice when onions start to cook down, they really impart this sweetness, kind of like the caramelization that we always hear about. This is all coming together great. And we've got a nice equal mixture. It's not just all corn or just onions or peppers, but you have a nice medley. And look at the colors. Red, green, we got a little bit of yellow, we got some translucent, and you can't even find the red onions really standing out, or the jalapenos, and that's the idea when we mince those jalapenos down. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add just a little bit more. See how we don't see a lot of fat in there? We're gonna add a little bit of olive oil right into the center, and we're gonna add just a little bit of flour. And what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna make a kind of like a little roux, kind of like a little thickener. And you can make a roux with any kind of oil or any kind of fat and flour. And we're just gonna mix that up a little bit in there. And what's gonna happen, it'll coat to the veggies a bit, but we're gonna add some liquid with some white wine and some chicken stock. Now, the big star of this whole parade is this cedar plank salmon that's got this apricot chili glaze on it in the oven, and it's just begging to get out. So I'll grab that out of there in just a second, but I need to hit this with some white wine and chicken stock. So there we go, dynamite. I'll be there. Okay. White wine, chicken stock, and what we'll kind of do is just deglaze. Your dentist didn't want to see that, okay? We hit a little bit of white wine and just a little bit of chicken stock. And what this is gonna make is almost like a little bit of a gravy that's gonna kind of work together in these veggies. If you want to make it all vegetarian, you didn't have to use the bacon fat, and you didn't have to use the chicken stock, could have been vegetable stock and just some canola oil, okay? Gonna let that sit there and simmer, and I have got to grab this salmon out. Now it's been down about 350 on cedar planks. Wow, look at those. How hot? Yeah, they're hot. I'm gonna pop those down on top of this. And I put that tray, I put this cookie sheet underneath it because in case that apricot chili glaze started to come off of there, I didn't want that to drip all over my oven. But look at that and smell it. The rosemary's coming out, a little bit of the jalapeno. That's gonna be dynamite.
Roasted salmon with sweet potatoes and crispy broccolini. So broccolini, first of all, is Chinese broccoli and broccoli.
Yeah, okay.
So I love it, and you just cut it up like this, put it in a bowl. This is raw. You don't have to blanch it. I like it better than broccoli. It's easier, and it's a little easy to chew. And I'm going to show you a trick for easy sweet potato wedges. So I have some sweet potato in a microwave for about 2 minutes. What? Just to lightly soften them up.
Did you prick them or anything?
No pricking.
Okay.
Okay. And they're still raw in the center. Yes. And then we take one of these suckers. You know what this is, right?
That is called a apple core wedger.
You ready?
Apple segment.
Look at that.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
They make nice wedges like that. And
That's a nice little time saver.
this I say for the dog, because dogs, this is very good for dogs.
It is good. We give JoJo and Pino.
Gus can have that,
Yeah,
right?
they love sweet potatoes.
Listen, if you do want to feed your dog little leftover pieces of sweet potato, make sure that they're fully cooked, okay?
Exactly.
True, yes.
Okay, so Jeff, you're gonna help me by picking some cilantro.
Sounds fun.
And slicing some scallions really.
They're really thin? All right, Coach, you got it. Whatever you need.
You ready?
today.
Okay, so we're gonna get a sheet pan. So we have salmon, sweet potatoes, and veggies. So this veggie can be basically whatever you want it to be. We have chosen these three. So I'm gonna put it all in the bowl. So I'm gonna put this in the bowl. Onions.
Oh yeah, GZ, what kind of salmon is that?
This is farm-raised salmon.
Love it.
Really beautiful, and you wanna make sure they're all cut about the same way without the skin. This particular dish doesn't have skin. If I had a hot pan or a cast iron pan,
you
I
crisp
would
it
put
up.
skin, but not this one. Okay, so in the bowl, I have a little,
What is
smell
that?
This is amazing.
What is it?
Oh, come on.
I have a feeling you're smelling because you don't know what it is either.
Come on, let's see.
Who can guess?
That's what he
Gives it an
usually
L.
does.
Oh, lavender.
It's a little lavender.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Herb de Provence. I was
Herb
gonna
de
say it's very
Provence, but there's a
Provence-y.
lot of lavender in herb de Provence.
You
I
are
just really love
so,
it, right?
you are so like awesome. Everything you do.
Some extra virgin olive oil.
Herb de Provence, it also has basil, fennel,
good, yeah.
marjoram.
Love it. Okay, a good amount of salt and pepper.
Did you know that lavender in your yard gets the mosquitoes away a lot?
Is it really?
Use
Yeah,
anything for that.
I always cross-plant lavender around the front door and the back porch.
So believe it or not, we're almost done. So we're just gonna toss this in this bowl. And we're gonna go to our oven, and what I have in the oven's at 400 degrees, and I put a sheet pan in the oven, which we do a lot around here. We preheat the sheet pan with some aluminum foil on it, so that there's less cleanup.
Okay.
Okay?
Non-stick aluminum foil?
So you're not using this sheet pan
I've
here.
never
That's
heard
just
of
to hold the
non-stick aluminum
salmon.
foil.
It's
Is there
awesome.
such a thing?
It's everywhere. They've got store brand now and everything, and it's just
watch out,
really a time
Jeff, that's
saver in
hot.
the kitchen.
Oh,
So I'm just dumping this, look at this. So it's already seasoned, right? Salt and pepper, you hear the sizzle?
I love it.
Right?
I'm having a Pavlov's response, like a dog.
I got excited.
We're taking the salmon, we're putting it right on top of the vegetables.
This is so smart.
Simple, right?
This guy, you are like, this is very, I mean, you used a microwave, first of all,
Yeah, this is different.
and then you wedged a
little-
whole sweet potato. I mean, you're really doing a lot.
A little olive oil,
Very good.
salt and pepper, and we're good to go. It's gonna go in the oven for about 15 minutes.
Is that wine there? What's
Yes, it's a little wine, don't worry.
I saw wine and I wanted it.
We have that icing as we speak. We're gonna put a little wine on this. What this does is help steam it just a bit, add some moisture, and get the vegetables cooked at the same time.
Oh, it's still
What kind of wine?
White wine,
Doesn't matter.
Sancerre, Chardonnay, something you would drink.
Okay.
Okay, in the oven.
So from the box.
400 degrees, about 10 to 15 minutes. Watch it, don't overcook salmon. There's nothing worse than overcooked salmon.
No me gusta.
Here we go. Oh.
Got everything right in front of me here to clean up.
Okay, look at that. Isn't that just gorge? Is that gorge?
It's pretty.
Okay. Now comes the fun part. So who's tasting this?
Daddy Geoffrey.
You're tasting?
Yep.
This is my kind of meal. I love
So
this.
there's
I'm
no,
making it.
there's no fuss to this. You just want to put it on the plate. Okay.
You say there's no fuss, but there's something about your hands and the connectivity between your hands and your brain that make everything look really good, GZ.
Love lemon juice on everything, just about. And just to finish, for some extra crunch, some scallion and some cilantro.
All right.
And then you have my cheat sheet,
man. That's it.
salmon with roasted vegetables. Bon
That
appetit.
baby around,
right.
that's beautiful.
I'm gonna just get after that salmon right quick. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah?
Like a hot knife through hot salmon.
Pilot high, GZ. See, you
Wow.
just gave us 2 ways to plate it. I really like that way, too.
It's all about that. So you can see the inside of that salmon is like perfectly medium too, but the vegetables surrounding it are crisp, but soft when they need to be, like that sweet potato is like perfectly yielding and everything. We got a little edge to it, so you get a little crunch on there. The broccolini, you're right. It's like the best, it's like super textured broccoli. And a little milder, awesome. That squeeze of lemon is key at the end there, and all the fresh herbs in there, the scallions. This is awesome.
I'm seasoning 1.5 pounds of salmon fillets. I've got kosher salt and chili powder. This is so easy. I make these tacos all the time and I can put them together on a weeknight. They come together really quickly, but they also look really impressive, like we've been doing a lot of work. And I wanna get a nice thick coating of my seasonings all over the salmon. And I'll flip these over and make sure I season the other side. It's important to bring salmon to room temperature before cooking it to allow it to cook evenly. I'll season the other side with salt and chili powder. My salmon seasoned. I'm gonna get a couple of tablespoons of olive oil into my skillet. I'll add my fillets, top side down. And I wanna space them out evenly to allow them to get some heat on all sides. I'll let these sear for about a minute to get that nice crust, and then I'll flip them and then stick them in the oven. Let me check. Oh yeah, they're ready to flip. Salmon, I feel like, can be intimidating to people because it is very easy to overcook it and then it'll get dry and not so great. But once you get the hang of it, you're gonna be cooking salmon every week too. Get those omega-3s. My oven is set to 450 degrees and I'm gonna roast it until it has an internal temperature of 125 degrees. It'll take about 6 to 8 minutes. And while this cooks, I'll get going on my slaw. This slaw is crunchy and bright. It's a cooling contrast to the salmon, and it's a cinch to put together. I'm gonna start with the zest and juice of a lime. I'll skim off the very top of the skin, and this will add that bright, sour, fruity punch. This is such an easy slaw. I'll add some sweetness with a couple of teaspoons of honey, a few tablespoons of olive oil, and I'll season with kosher salt and a few shakes of hot sauce. And that's the dressing. Let me whisk this together. My dressing has emulsified. Next I'll add my veggies. I've got half a head of red cabbage thinly sliced. Toss this right in. Red cabbage is very sturdy, but once it combines with the salt and the acid in that lime, it's gonna start to soften. So it's always good to make a slaw about 20 or 30 minutes before you plan to serve it. Half of a red onion, thinly sliced. Radishes for a peppery crunch. I love the pink and purple colors in this. And lastly, some fresh cilantro. This will add great freshness and a nice contrast to the pink and purple. And I'll toss it all together to make sure everything is coated in the dressing. This is glossy and coated in that dressing. Let me transfer it to my serving bowl. I'll pile this in. Beautiful. I think I'm starting to smell my salmon. Let me check on it. That's gorgeous. And that fried chili powder on the exterior is really doing it for me. So an easy way to tell if salmon is done cooking is if it flakes easily. So I'm gonna get at it with my 2 forks. Oh yeah, I'll break it up into little pieces. This is gonna go great in the tacos.
Oh my gosh.
Hey!
This is incredible.
I thought you could use a casual vacation from wheat harvest.
That's exactly what I need.
Come on over, let's eat. I hope you're hungry.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm having a baby shower. I'm gonna make 2 huge platters of salmon nicoise, and everybody can just help themselves. I'm making a marinade for the salmon. It's gonna sit on it for a little while, and then I'm gonna roast it at a really high temperature. It's delicious. So the first thing I need is the zest of 4 lemons. Okay, that's good. So I'm just gonna put this all in a big bowl. Next thing is a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 1/4 cup of mustard. I love to use Dijon mustard. I think it has great flavor. And then I'm gonna put in lots of garlic. 4 cloves of garlic chopped right into the marinade. Make sure it's really flavorful. 1½ tablespoons of salt. 1/2 tablespoon of pepper. I'm just gonna whisk this all together and then spread it on the salmon. You know, this has great flavor. I can smell it already. So I'm just gonna put all this on top of the salmon and let the flavors get into the meat of the salmon. It'll sit for about 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna roast it at a very high temperature. Perfect. So what I have is 1½ pounds of these haricots verts, French string beans. You can really find them anywhere. Just gonna put them right into a pot of boiling water. A little bit of salt. Actually, blanching is a great way to cook a lot of vegetables. You put it in hot boiling water, cook it for 3-4 minutes, depending on the vegetable, until it's crisp but still tender, and then you shock it by putting in ice water. It stops the cooking, sets the color, and makes sure they stay crisp, which is wonderful. So I'll just take the beans out. They don't cook very long at all. Into the ice water, stop the cooking. Time to cook the salmon. I'm gonna cook it at 500 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes, and the high heat really sort of caramelizes the top. It has so much flavor. Okay, I'm gonna cook 12 eggs. I'm gonna turn on the heat, and here's my foolproof hard-boiled egg trick. Bring the water up to a boil, turn off the heat, leave the eggs in for 5 minutes exactly, and then take them out and let them cool at room temperature for 2 minutes, and then peel them. It's perfect every time. No dark circles around the yolks. Okay, I think the salmon's ready. Oh, that's perfect. It's nice and browned on the top. Wonderful. Now comes the fun part, assembling the salmon nicoise platter. So I chilled the salmon so it flakes really nicely. I'm just gonna take big pieces of it and put it right on the platter. The salmon's perfectly cooked. It's sort of medium rare, and you can see all the flavors on top, the garlic, and it's just wonderful. Just big, bold flakes of salmon piled up. The main course is the salmon, so I'm just gonna put it right down the middle. Okay, so the next thing is the potatoes. So they've steamed, they've cooled, and I've sliced them big, thick slices. I'm gonna do 2 platters. It's so many people, I just wanna make sure everybody has lots to eat. And then tomatoes. I took medium-sized tomatoes and cut them in 6ths. And then the haricots verts, which we steamed and blanched. Everything's room temperature. The key about a big platter is just big blocks of color. You don't want a little here and a little there. You want big blocks of color. Okay, next is hard-cooked eggs. This is really classic salad nicoise. It's just done with roasted salmon, so rather than tuna, I just think it has so much more flavor. So I'm gonna do a big bunch of watercress. Instead of little bits of it around, just one big bunch. It really sort of balances the green. I have olives. Can't have a salad nicoise without olives. So instead of black olives, which we have in the gazpacho, I'm going to use green olives. And for those of us that love anchovies, just a few anchovies. But I wouldn't put it all over, just in a few places, so anybody that loves them can help themselves. Okay, the last thing is the vinaigrette. Really quick. 1/4 cup of champagne vinegar. Teaspoon of mustard. Good Dijon mustard is essential. Salt and pepper. Make sure it's really well flavored. And 1/2 cup of olive oil. And that's the easiest vinaigrette in the world. I love the way the mustard emulsifies this vinaigrette. Okay, I'm just gonna pour it over the vegetables, particularly the potatoes. Make sure they have lots of flavor. A little drizzle on everything else. Oh, I think I hear girls' voices. I think there's a party about to start, and I can't wait to see Sinead's face.
So the first thing you want to do is select the best salmon you can find. We've taken the bones out. You can see it's center cut. And you want to make sure you have a very even piece of salmon. Serve the portion that's correct. You don't have to serve 8 ounces of salmon. I recommend 5 to 6. That's it. It's a very rich fish. And then, to make the salmon leaf, we're going to go back in the very center, and then we're going to make a cut until we feel the skin. We're not going to go through it. Fold it back on itself, and you have like a leaf. And so when you grill it, the char gets in all parts of the salmon, and it really tastes delightful. And we're gonna put these on top of our very special salad, which we're gonna make now. First thing we need, a cucumber. And I use the hothouse or gourmet cucumbers, which are the long ones, they're seedless. And what I do is I crush it in a towel, and I just smash it with the back of my hand just to get that smell of cucumber going. And you rough chop it, put it in a bowl. To that, we're gonna add some really nice finely diced chive. You take some medjool dates, beautiful big fat dates. I'm Middle Eastern, and I just love dates. They're incredibly dense and rich. Walnuts, I've slivered, sliced, chopped. You can do whatever you want. And then some kosher salt, a little pepper, some fresh lemon. And please don't buy lemon in a jar. Just cut one and squeeze it. And a little bit of extra virgin olive oil with a little bit of sliced fennel. You save the fronds, the little green parts. You can actually throw that in too. That gives it a nice, beautiful, rich flavor as well. Toss it lightly. That's it. Let's go to the grill. The hardest part of this dish is getting the grilling of the salmon right. We just lit this about 45 minutes ago. We just have enough coal, and we've laid it out. It's got to be a medium to high heat, which means you can hold your hand on top of the fire for 5 seconds, 6 inches above the grill. If you can only do it for 2 seconds, it means the grill's too hot. Secondly, the grate. We're going to take a rag, dip it in a little oil, and just wipe it. What you're doing here is you're cleaning the grill, and you're moistening the grill with just enough olive oil. If you go get your salmon, they should be at room temperature. You lightly brush the skin and the flesh with the smallest amount of olive oil. Season it lightly with sea salt, put it on the grill, and walk away. And that's another thing that people can't do. They want to poke it, touch it, and flip it. If it's ready to move, it will tell you. And what I mean by that is it will come off the grill. Ah, you see? Now it's ready. You'll see as you just flip over it without any effort, and the grill will be clean. So I cooked it about 2.5 minutes on the first side and about 1.5 minutes on the other side. And you want a little bit of pink in a salmon. I tend to medium, but salmon is one of those things that should be served medium rare. Bring it back in, put the salmon on top of the salad. A touch of extra virgin olive oil on top to finish. And you have your dish. That will really impress your friends. I guarantee it.
Panko-Crusted salmon is one of my favorite ways to prepare salmon. It's delicious salmon, and it's got a great crust with lemon zest and mustard. It's fantastic. And the best part of it is I can make it in advance and just throw it in the oven before dinner so I can have fun with my friends. So I've got 4 salmon fillets, and then I'm gonna make a crust with panko. Panko's that great Japanese breadcrumbs, and they're really crusty. You can buy them in a specialty food store, grocery store in the Asian section. My seafood shop has it. I need 2/3 of a cup of panko, 2 tablespoons of parsley, lemon zest, that should be about a teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And I'm just gonna drizzle it with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Just stir it up, and this is gonna go right on top of the salmon. This looks great. You can really smell the lemon zest, and the parsley looks great. Okay, next for the salmon. So I'm gonna sprinkle it with salt and pepper. Make sure it's really well seasoned. Pepper. And next some mustard. So the salmon and mustard and panko, they're gonna be great together. I'm just gonna brush the mustard right on the salmon. It gives it lots of flavor, but it also helps the panko adhere. And now the panko. So I'm just gonna spoon it on and just sort of press it down so it adheres to the salmon. This is really one of my favorite ways to prepare salmon. So good. Okay, that's done. So I've got a really hot pan. I put in 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and I'm just gonna cook the salmon, skin side down. How gorgeous does that look? This is a great way to do it because when you sear it, you get the skin really nice and crisp, and then you put it in the oven and roast it, and it makes it moist and delicious. So I'm going to sear it for 3 to 4 minutes in this pan, and then I'm going to take the whole pan, put it in the oven, 425 for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then let it rest. Panko-Crusted salmon, a delicious recipe that can be made ahead and cooked really fast.